So first of all, I'd love it if you could introduce yourself to our audience.
My name's Nick Giulioni. I am a Los Angeles transplant here to the Hoosier state of Indiana. I grew up in the e-commerce sales world. I moved around the industry quite a lot and used networking to make that happen. More recently, back in 2022, I made the transition to full-time real estate, where I run a fix and flip company, own several rentals, run a construction company, run 2 wedding venues. But just as importantly to all of that, I'm a husband, a son, a brother, a friend, and most recently a father. So definitely have a lot of networking that I need to do in my life.
As an entrepreneur and a business professional with many businesses under your wing, how important would you say that relationships are to your career and to your business life?
Yeah, it's absolutely the most vital thing in the world that we could possibly ask for. Relationships are how business is done. It's how jobs are created. It's how jobs are had on a day-to-day basis. And so going in there and just expecting all of the people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis to just give you something every time you chat with them is an unreasonable expectation. These relationships that are important need to be nurtured on a day-to-day basis. You need to give, you need to give, you need to give. You need to care about what's going on in these people's lives. And when an opportunity comes up that they're thinking about you or that you need something from them, that's the opportunity to ask. It's not when you need something that you start building relationships. You need to start building it before you're ever in those situations.
So, with that in mind, do you feel that you use Cove mostly for business, or do you also use it for personal relationships?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. And I struggle to answer that question because the truth of the matter is I don't tend to differentiate between my personal and professional relationships. There are some relationships that I have no interaction with my business on a day-to-day basis, but the way I treat people, the way I treat the people who I might do business with in the future, the way I treat my family isn't terribly different on a day-to-day basis. I think all of those relationships need nurturing. So I definitely use it from a personal perspective. I've got all my college friends, all my high school friends back home in California who are important to me, but I'm not front of mind to them and they're not front of mind to me because we don't see each other on a day-to-day basis. With that in mind, I do want to maintain those relationships. I want to make sure that I see them on a regular basis. And you can only do that by being intentional. Same thing on the business side. All of the potential lenders on my fix and flip projects, all of the potential wholesalers out there who I might want to work with, agents, all of those people are very important on a day-to-day basis. And they might not always have a deal for me, and I might not always have a deal for them. But I want to make sure that when the opportunity comes, that I'm front of mind. I'm the person that they're thinking about because I know about them. I've met their families. I've broken bread with them on a regular basis just to make sure that we actually know each other and trust each other in those moments.
Would you say that as a business owner, you would need to have systems in place in order to be able to keep up with your network?
So I actually don't want to differentiate necessarily between being a business owner. I think that's wildly important and a huge piece of my entire identity. But I think the other side of that is, being a friend, being a family man, being an employee, all of those things. It's very important to be intentional, to have systems in place to keep up with your network. You never know when you're going to need people in your life. And so you want to be nurturing that on a day-to-day basis. For me, my wife actually is the one who introduced me to Cove. I'm so happy that she did. And our system is instead of having a million to-do list items in my to-do list to keep up with different people, I just have an item on a day-to-day basis that says, hey, go check into Cove. I might have 2 minutes, I might have half an hour to go in there and be intentional. But the two of us will have our morning Cove time before our kiddo has gotten up, before our lives have gotten too crazy yet for the day, before we go to work, that we take that time to nurture those relationships. And I think it's wildly important that people do that, whether or not just starting their career or whether or not they run a multi-billion-dollar company.
So I guess you've also sort of covered one of the questions I would have asked you is how easy it was to integrate Cove into your daily life.
It does take a little bit of work. It takes intentionality. Networking isn't something that's easy. It takes actual effort. And so I think it's important that whoever uses the application, I know for me, I need to have a reminder to myself to go into the application. I'm not the kind of person that allows a whole lot of notifications in my life. So Cove might have the best notification system in the entire world. I'm not as familiar with that side of things. But the truth of the matter is I need a reminder to go in there and be intentional. I need a reminder for myself to go add new relationships that are important into Cove. So I think that it does take a little bit of effort on the front end, but it's totally worth it in the long term, such that you're able to keep up with people with less effort moving forward and with less intentionality moving forward. You get to kind of do the networking on autopilot.
Nice. And given that you do use Cove daily and there's a lot of use of the app in it for you, do you feel that Cove can add a lot of value to your existing relationships just as much as it does to your new ones?
Absolutely. I think Cove for your existing relationships has a superpower. It's the notes field. It's the seeing the historical conversations that you've had with people and all the notes associated with that. I'm going to be honest, I probably have 200 people in Cove who I regularly want to stay in contact with, and my memory is not that good. Once I've ended a conversation, I forget about 90% of them. So having that little bit of a reminder for those existing relationships is super, super important. It allows me to go back and remember, oh, what was my buddy's due date for his first kid? Oh, hey, what what did my buddy say he was interested in for a wedding, gift or for his honeymoon? There are lots of different ways that you're able to take these moments, take these interactions, take the nuggets out of them such that you're able to repurpose them in the future and continue to build those relationships even stronger. It's great for it's obviously great for the past relationships, and then adding new relationships on top of that just becomes so much easier from that point forward.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Nick. And which Cove feature would you say is your favorite feature and that you use most?
Yeah, so it's probably not the most exciting one out there, but for me, reducing friction has extreme value in my life. And there's something as easy as, from the Cove app, literally hitting one button to start an iMessage with somebody is, I think, my favorite feature within the application. I'm not always the most intentional. I'm not always sitting there in front of my laptop, which I tend to prefer when I'm doing my Cove, when I'm doing my networking. But when I'm out standing in line at the grocery store and I have just that brief moment, I could open Instagram, I could open YouTube and waste that time. But what I try and do is be a little bit more intentional with that time and stop for a moment, open Cove, and then I can very quickly hit one button in order to open up the iMessage that I'm having with that person, and very quickly get into networking mode and take what could be wasted time into something that's wildly valuable.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today, Nick. We really appreciate it.